Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us for our 22nd Air Filtration Google Hangout. Charlie Cipher, Manager of Marketing and Technical Materials for Camfil USA, world leader in the development and production of air filters and clean air solutions, will be joining us today to offer insight on questions about residential air filtration. Hi, Charlie. Welcome to the Hangout, and thanks again for participating.
Oh, thanks, Steve. These are always fun.
For me, too. Let's get going on the first question, and that one is, what does the air filter in my home furnace or air conditioner do?
Well, originally they were put in there by the people that manufactured the equipment to protect the system, basically to get it through the warranty, to keep the heat exchanger clean, to keep the coils clean. And then over time, the filters have actually gone up in efficiency because people have learned that they've got a pretty good source of removed contaminant from the air. So the original idea was to protect the system, and now it's to give a level of efficiency for removing some contaminants from the air.
And why is it important to change filters in my home furnace or air conditioning? You hear about that all the time, and I've always wondered.
Well, the type of contaminants that these filters capture in the home are typically very large. They're going to be hair, nuisance dust, the type of dust that you see that gets on the furniture and everything. Well, what those particles will do is they will clog the filter over a period of time. Just like the oil filter in your car, you've got to change that once every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. You've got to think about the filter that's also in your furnace or your air conditioner. How often should you change filters? Probably, depending upon where you live, it's actually different. Normally, people would change them based upon time. The best time to do it is right before air conditioning season because, believe it or not, air-conditioned air is actually heavier and very difficult for your fan to move through the system. Heated air, by virtue of being heated, is already moving and wants to move through the air a little bit more freely. But at the same time, and probably the best time to change a filter is right before air conditioning season. And then if you think about it, not as critical, change it right before the heating season if you have both of them.
You raised an interesting point. Does that mean that air conditioning filters need to be changed more often than furnace filters?
Excuse me, I didn't catch the middle there, Steve.
Does that mean that air conditioning filters need to be changed more frequently than furnace filters?
Oh, absolutely. If you live in Portland, Maine, where they have very little air conditioning, you can get away with changing your filter probably once a year. But if you live in Florida, it's a good idea to try to change your filter quarterly because they can use air conditioning all year round. And of course, the best time in Florida to change your filter is right before the hottest season, right before that July-August period, because that's when you need the most efficient air conditioning that possible.
That's good to know. How many types of air filters are available?
Well, going back to the 1960s and 1970s, after metal filters, there were fiberglass panels. Some of those still exist in some residential units, but typically you don't see them too often anymore. Now you're seeing more along the lines of what they call polyester pads. Some people even have electronic type filters, and by electronic filters, I mean ones that are actually connected to a power pack and induce a charge to remove the particles. And some of them actually create an electronic charge by air moving across fibers. And then, of course, the one that's becoming the most popular as of late is the plated filters, the same type that would be used in a commercial building. So you have, in today's world, you have fiberglass pads, which are probably about 10 to 20% of the filters out there. Polyester panels, maybe about 30 to 40%. Electronic, which are not that well accepted right now, maybe 10 to 15%. And the rest of the people out there are probably using pleated panel filters that they can purchase in Home Depot or Lowe's or their local hardware stores.
Sure. But what happens if you forget to change the filter?
Well, that's not a good thing. In commercial buildings, they actually change them based upon pressure drop. But to do that in a residence would be kind of expensive. If you don't change the filter on time in a residence, what can happen is they can actually unload. As the pressure builds up against the filter, it actually will push the dirt through the filter, and you cause more problems. Dirty coils, dirty ductwork, dirty heat exchangers, even to the point where some people have gotten enough dirt on their heat exchangers actually to create a fire. The other thing that happens as the filter loads is it forces the fan to work harder. Now, when a filter is clean, it's not the most efficient. When it's been in there for a period of time, it actually becomes more efficient. So it's not good to change your filter on a weekly basis or anything like that, because it's just starting to become efficient over a short period of time. But when it does start to make the fan work harder, then you want to get that filter out of there. The other thing that happens is, as it builds up pressure drop, you get less air changes to the space. Now, in a commercial building, they typically see about 6 air changes per hour. Well, with each air change, they're getting another full change of clean air coming into the space. Residences only have maybe 1 to 2 air changes per hour, but you certainly don't want to restrict those air changes, because every time you get the air back to the filter, you're removing contaminants. And then, of course, the last thing is, the longer you leave it in the system, the more energy it's going to use, because it builds up pressure against that fan, and the electricity's got to move through your meter a little bit more.
So what does the future hold for residential air filters? What's on the horizon?
Well, over the last 20 years, it's been kind of fun as we've kind of watched the evolution. The people that put the filters in the original equipment, they're putting those filters in just to protect the equipment, and now people are becoming concerned, about air quality. So we're seeing more and more pleated filters. In fact, it's very tough to go into a Home Depot or a Lowe's or a home improvement store and actually find fiberglass panels anymore. The shelves are basically full of plated filters. Well, what that allows to happen is, as the manufacturer improves the media, you're actually going to get filters that become more efficient. And these filters right now are becoming more efficient down to the sub-micron size particles. So if you've got a plated filter in your system and you've got somebody with a cold in the house, it's not a bad idea to turn that fan switch on your thermostat, keep circulating the air, and remove the contaminants that people may be sneezing out from colds or other things that may pop up in a closed environment, especially during the winter if you live up north.
That's good. That's very good information. So where can we find additional information?
Well, like anything else, Steve, the best source of information today, I guess you could say Google, but sometimes it's better to go directly to the websites. There's quite a few websites out there that talk about air quality, but of course I'm going to recommend catalog.camfil.us or camfil.us or camfil.com, and look for industries and those type of titles on the left menu, and you'll find more information that gives you some insight on air quality and filters and servicing air filters.
Excellent. Thank you all for participating. We look forward to seeing you on our next Hangout when we cover more essential air filtration topics. Thanks, Charlie. That was some good information, and we do appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. You have a good week.
You too.